Ladies and gentlemen, so we have now had a few days of playing around with Hulk Ragnarok in Marvel Contest of Champions. We have been into quite a few different maps and modes of gameplay and tested out so many different matchups. So I think at the moment I feel like I have a really good understanding of where this champion is at, kind of some of his potential and what he's going to be very good for in the game overall. So today I just wanted to make a bit of an early review, kind of sharing all that information with you guys, and also outlining, hopefully very clearly, what some of the pros and cons of this champion are. But overall, I really like Hulk Ragnarok. I think he's a fantastic addition to Marvel Contest of Champions, and I think when he gets around to kind of the basic 10k pull and the standard 4-star crystal pull, he's going to be amazing for newer and progressing players to pick up, because he really helps counter a lot of the rubbish that you have to deal with when kind of progressing in Marvel Contest of Champions, and seems to have, he's going to have some really solid kind of uses in Alliance War and Alliance Quest. But anyway, to get into some of the strengths and weaknesses of this character, and we'll start off with all the good stuff. So Hulk Ragnarok is a great counter to Magic's, Mephisto's, and Dormammu's, and these are three of the champions that are really big roadblocks for a lot of players that don't have a counter to them, with the mechanic that he has called Face Me. Essentially, in these matchups, for the majority of the time, he is regenerating 70% of the damage taken, and this is increased even more if you have mastery points that boost your regeneration. Also, greatly increases the chance the opponent will trigger a special attack, so it makes it very easy to get out those specials on Dormammu, Mephisto, and Magic, which can sometimes be a little bit tricky in PvP scenarios, and also gives you a huge bonus to attack, which I believe is around 90% of whatever your Gladiator Hulk's base attack. So yeah, that is absolutely huge in those free matchups in particular. And the best part about this, and Gladiator Hulk in general, is he has pretty much all of the really essential stuff and the good stuff without having to be awakened. Like his awakened ability, it's very nice to have, it's a nice bonus, but it's by no means essential to the character. So Gladiator Hulk, for a lot of people, is going to be one of those champions that you can just pull out of a crystal. You don't need to have them awakened, and he is already an effective solution to content that is like a massive clown fiesta pain in the ass. So that's what I really like about the champion. He's just another good BS fighting solution. You don't need to have them awakened. So yeah, big props to that. And as well as, having this really awesome Face Me mechanic, which is very useful for that. The additional utility that he provides as well is he is passively poison immune, and also via his special 1 he has quite an effective heal block that lasts for 10 seconds there as well, and also has stun potential on both his special 1 and special 2, and also on the special attack 2 you have an innovate as well, which is quite useful combined with the stun, because whenever you use your special attack 2, generally speaking, you're at kind of 100 crowd excitement. So you fire that off, the opponent is stunned, and then you can absolutely mash into them and they're gaining no power. So it kind of helps, again, even further in those kind of mystic PvP matchups, just negate the amount of opponent power your opponent is gaining. So yeah, really cool use there. And then finally, the one thing as well, because Face Me, it seems to activate, and we'll talk about this in kind of the con section a little bit more, but one of the additional modes of gameplay that Face Me is activating at the moment is in Starburst, which is very helpful for Act 4 and Road to the Labyrinth of Legends, because there are some really annoying Starburst scenarios there. So he seems to be quite a good tool for, helping mince those down quite quickly. But yeah, that's kind of all the pros, he has in those right matchups of Face Me, and if, you're fighting kind of poison lanes, he can be quite effective as well. And I guess one more thing to mention in terms of the strengths is his awakened ability, which is once per fight when either Hulk or his opponent hits 20% health, he will gain either a regeneration or a increased attack bonus for the duration of the fight. And the regeneration can be pretty effective, but again, it's a 50-50 coin toss from what I've seen. I don't believe there's any way to decide the outcome, because, when I'm mashing opponents down, on the forums they said that it's always like, if you get your opponent down, you get the Fury theory, if you drop to 20%, you get the regeneration. But I'm seeing the regeneration when I get my opponents down, and I've taken no hits. So it seems to be like a 50-50 coin toss. But for stuff like, let's say, Alliance Quest, for example, one of the potential uses with the Awakened ability is, you know, you get your opponent to 20%. See if you roll the regeneration or attack bonus. If you roll the regeneration, then you can soak up all of the regeneration, which can be quite a big bonus. I believe if you have him as like a 5-star dupe level 200, I think it's around like 35%, 40% of his maximum health regeneration, which again could make him a very, very valuable option here. You'll see, you know, just on the 4-star one that I have, my base health is 16,000, and this dupe level 20 is healing for almost 4,000. So yeah, it's quite effective in that scenario, so it seems like it's going to be really, really good if you can get that jacked up for a potential, you know, sustainable champion. But again, you could lose some coin flips when it comes to stuff like Alliance Quest, and maybe you might not get the regeneration there, but it also might help in Alliance War as well. That could be an additional perk of that. But yeah, the Awakened ability, it's a bit more useful than I thought it was going to be, so I'm quite enjoying that so far. But again, you don't really need it. It's just a super, super nice to have for the champion. Now, let's go into some of the cons or weaknesses of the character, and I think the biggest one for a lot of people, and if you watch the Realm of Legends video, you've probably seen this, is he has pretty average damage outside of matchups where Face Me is activated, and he doesn't really seem like he's going to be a very good kind of Labyrinth of Legends or Realm of Legends option, because he's not really bringing an insane amount of damage to the table there, which is fine, because this character, you know, he has really good uses outside of that, and he seems like a very kind of specific matchup champion for the most part. But yeah, just to, you know, keep in mind that the damage in the majority of fights, especially ones where you don't have Face Me active, which again is really every fight outside of Magic, Mephisto, and Dormammu, the damage isn't really too great, but he's a very, very fun champion to play, and his animations are really, really awesome. And the second thing is really about the Face Me triggers. There's a lot of stuff, because it's a little bit confusing to I found to understand Face Me, because its Hulk becomes enraged while under the effects of cowardly passive damage over time effects, but passive damage over time effects are only a very limited amount of damage over time effects. For example, it doesn't trigger off Iceman's Cold Snap, it doesn't trigger off any bleeds, and the majority of degeneration nodes like Bane, Flare, and Lifesteal, it doesn't trigger off that. So yeah, there are a lot of scenarios that involve damage over time stuff where it doesn't trigger. So yeah, it's generally just kind of Magic, Mephisto, and Dormammu are really the free matchups where Face Me mechanic is in play. And I guess an additional con is you need to be or adopt a fairly aggressive playstyle to get the most out of him, because a lot of his stuff kind of revolves around the crowd excitement mechanic, and this, you know, really, really can help amplify his damage, because every hit you land, the crowd excitement goes up by 5, and every time you or your opponent fire off a special, it goes up by 10, and you want to try and keep this 100 as much as you possibly can. So you need to be playing very, very aggressively to get, you know, a good amount out of this champion. And just in comparison to the original Hulk as well, in terms of the stun potential of this champion. The stun potential of this champion, I don't think is anywhere close to what the classic Hulk can fire off, which, to be honest, is pretty fair, because classic Hulk, he doesn't have too much going on, so his just insanely long stun with Fury is just very, very helpful there. But the stuns, you know, they're quite nice to have for this champion. You know, I like the involvement of them, but they are not really that long in terms of duration. But that's pretty much it for the cons, man. He's just got some pretty average damage. Face Me doesn't trigger off a lot of stuff. You need to play fairly aggressively, and the stun potential, you know, it's much better on other characters. But this dude, you know, if you look at all the little bits and bobs that he has in terms of utility with the heal block, the poison immunity in there, it, you know, really adds up in the kind of wider picture of stuff. So he's quite, you know, I kind of see this dude as a bit of a utility champion in some scenarios. I just, you know, if there's one change I was going to make to This champion in particular, I'd shift like 50% of the attack from face me just onto like his passive attack, and make that bonus, just, 50% of what it is. So that overall he has more damage, but again in those face me matchups he has even more damage and brings him up to a similar level there. But that's just kind of my only criticism with Hulk Ragnarok, is I just wish he had a little bit better base damage, but still very, very useful champion. He's going to be great for a lot of people to pick up. But if you're wondering, I assume this is probably going to be asked quite a bit in the comments, should I go for Gladiator Hulk or should I go for Blade? Blade is definitely still a substantially better character overall than Gladiator Hulk. But, if you don't, or if you already have Blade, for example, I think he's a good champion to pick up. Like, I think there are going to be points in the future where he's going to come in handy quite a bit. So yeah, if, for example, I already had a 5-star Blade on my main account, I would go for the 5-star Gladiator Hulk. And I think on my free-to-play account, because, I don't really have, like, any super strong BS counter matchups, we're going to try and get up to 15,000 shards and go for him on the free-to-play account. Because, again, the pro of not needing to be awakened is really, really good as well. So I can appreciate that. So yeah, I think this champion, he's going to find good use in Alliance War against a lot of these Magics, Mephistos, and Dormammus, which regularly pop up as mini-bosses and final bosses. I think even a maxed out 4-star should be able to take down even some of the most beefy Magics, Mephistos, and Dormammus as final bosses. I've almost one-shot the Act 5 Mephisto, and that's one of the biggest pain in the ass Mephistos in the game. So yeah, I really, really like that. So yeah, I'm interested to try and see this champion's potential in Alliance War. Hopefully we should have some gameplay videos coming up over the next few days. Alliance Quest, again, if you play it well with the signature ability, like, he could be quite a fun and good option to play for a lot of fights. And also Act 5, there are so many annoying Magic and Dormammu and Mephisto scenarios where this champion has a really, really good matchup and really, really good use for. So overall, I am very impressed with the introduction of Gladiator Hulk to the game. I just wish he had a little bit more base damage, but he does bring a lot to the table in terms of utility, and the fact that he doesn't really need to be awakened, I think, is a huge pro and something that I really, really like. But I also like that his awakened ability is not completely useless, and it's kind of a nice little bonus to the champion there. But overall, I think Hulk Ragnarok is kind of, he fits quite nicely into my demigod tier. Very versatile champion, has a lot of uses in relevant endgame content, and deals with some of the bigger problems quite effectively. So yeah, I'm fairly happy to label this guy a solid demigod tier champion. I think he's kind of right in the middle there, and I think there is so much up for debate in terms of matchups between like Hulk Ragnarok, Void, and Quake, because every single one of those champions, they have their pros, they have their cons, but I feel like, I don't know, I feel like Void at the moment is overall still the best science champion. I think Hulk Ragnarok is a little bit below in terms of what he can do, but he's still a great option, he's still a very useful option, and in comparison to Void, Void needs to be awakened at a very high signature level to get a good level of effectiveness out of the character, whereas you can just pick up Hulk Ragnarok and you can just smash the crap out of your opponent and have an absolutely fantastic time. So yeah, I like this champion, man. He's a good addition. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think of Gladiator Hulk or Hulk Ragnarok in the comments below. Do you like this champion? Do you not like him? Is there anything we've missed from this review? Apart from that, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to smash that like button. Apart from that, take care and have an absolutely fantastic day.